for Rivas. He's going to take a shot here. Rivas, oh, what a goal! It's a goal, it's a goal, it's a goal! You could not write a better script.
Hello everyone, welcome to day 2 of the Tiro Sports International ID Boys World Cup. What a blinder the first day was. Drama, an unbelievable selection of goals and saves, lots of excitement on show. Delighted to have unpacking with me everything today. Marc Mounciot from Jill and Ross Macklin from Carnegie Mellon. Yep, I got that right,
yeah,
yep.
That's the one.
So many names. But guys, thanks so much for joining me. First question. Did day 1 of the Tiro Sports World Cup live up to all the hype, the expectation?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, from like the very first moment that the guys have stepped on campus and got to playing games yesterday, there was just an energy straight away. Everybody's absolutely excited to be here, 100%.
Yeah, there was a lot of excitement. Like you could see the 8 teams were willing to play, willing to give everything, and give us a good version of the qualities.
We put together a highlight reel, and we had to extend our cut. There were so many good moments, but is there one particular goal or save or some moment that really stuck out to you guys yesterday?
I mean, there were a bunch of good goals that I'm remembering. You know, the UK Southern Europe game, finishing 3-3. Some good goals in that. You know, of course, between our game, your player scored a worldie there. I mean, for me, the moment of class that really stood out was Preston Alessio's second goal to win the game for us for North America. I mean, his composure inside the 6-yard box. The guy just, you know, he demonstrated a level of maturity that was really incredible to see for that goal.
It must have been about 4 or 5 players on the ground after he'd finished doing all his fake shots.
He must have taken about 10 touches inside the 6-yard box. It was really
incredible.
cool. Yeah, it was a good goal.
Marc, what about you? What was your favourite moment of yesterday?
The tying goal of the third game. I think that team was behind the entire game and came back, showed some a lot of resilience, and it was fun. And obviously the last game we play against each other with 2 very nice goals. Tying goal was a blast, and the winning goal was with a lot of composure, and I think they deserve to win the game anyway.
We've seen a lot of strong teams' performances already. Would you guys say there's an early favourite outside of your own team? One team you're looking at, we might see them in the final?
Geez, they all look good, to be honest with you, Josh. I would say that the UK are going to grow as the event goes on. A lot of good players in that team, and some players I know who are coming back from injury who will continue to improve in form as the game goes. They would be a pick for me. Southern Europe as well, I feel, have quite a bit of talent and some good coaching as well.
You're playing them today at 4 p.m. It's probably the headline game of the day. How are you feeling about that?
Yeah, optimistic. Excited for the game. You know, of course, playing against good teams. It's fun. You know, it's fun to be a part of those games where good players are playing against each other. I think it'll be an interesting tactical matchup as well if they line up the way that they did yesterday. But yeah, very excited.
Marc, what's the team most impressed you yesterday?
I think Asia, the level of technical abilities they play. You know, when those teams are put together, you may expect the first game will be quite difficult because there is no connections really between the players. But Asia yesterday was very strong. They feel flow for the game was quite interesting to see, and the team who beat us, I think those 2 teams for me are the favorites to win the tournament.
A lot is going to change today. Group stage day 2 is always a decisive one. I calculated we could have up to 3 teams book their tickets to the semi-final. 3 teams could also go out, so it's going to be a really interesting one. But now I wanted to get onto the recruitment part. Obviously, we're here for a World Cup, also here so that players can find the right college, so that college coaches can find the right players. A big aspect of human relationships and recruiting is communication. It probably can be quite intimidating for players. You guys are very well established, experienced in the game. I guess just a basic question to start with. What are some do's and don'ts for communicating with coaches at ID camps?
You know, I would say the biggest do is right in the in your question is to communicate. You know, it's a common misconception that players have that simply by being a good player or walking out onto the field that you will be recruited. I mean, the fact is that you have to do a lot of work in terms of developing relationships, like you say, communicating over a long period of time with coaches, you know, just putting yourself out there, really. A second thing would be, you know, being open to all possibilities. Sometimes you can kind of become a little bit too narrowed in your you know, just be a little bit too focused on one set of schools or a type of school or a division or an area of the country, and you exclude all these other possibilities that might be a great fit for you from a soccer perspective, from a social perspective, cultural, whatever it is. So being open to and receptive to all possibilities is really key.
Marc, what do you look for from students at an ID camp for communication?
I think there are two ways to see that. The first one is like, yeah, what we see on the field and the demeanor, the behavior of certain kids. Like, yeah, we like them, we find them, they're very interesting. They could feel positions on a roster, but I think what's very important, and it's part of communications, is all the seminars they attend. We're paying attention to the questions they may have. They may pay attention to the answers we're giving them. And from then, it's just like trying to start some kind of relationship with them during those days. It's not only on the field, it's off the field. And the good thing about this event is like we can almost see the kids for 24 hours. So we can see them in different settings. And obviously, we'll have time to talk to them if they wish to talk to us. And that's a great way to start a relationship.
Obviously, a lot of international kids here. That can, I'm speaking first, and I'm sure you can as well, Marc. There can sometimes be cultural mistranslation. As an Englishman, if I said to Ross, if I just said hello, I'd feel impolite and boastful, and as an Englishman, because we never show off. But, you know, Ross, I guess from your perspective, as a born and raised American, you know, what would you say for an international student? What is too pushy? What is like not too pushy? How can they kind of get that balance right?
Yeah, you know, I would say like regular communication is key, but there's a line. You have to find the right frequency with which to be communicative and to not ask too much. Because I guess another kind of misconception that the players from outside the U.S. might not realize is that there are so many players that contact college coaches. You know, there's a massive group of aspiring college players. And so you're one of several. You know, you have to find a way to separate yourself without really being like, you know, having the expectation that you've earned something without really, you know, without taking the appropriate steps, right? So having regular communication, you know, once every 2 months, until the relationship passes a certain point, the recruiting relationship passes a certain point, and then you can get into the texting, the phone calls, things like that. But you have to be careful not to be too aggressive in your communication and just, you know, making sure that you're providing appropriate updates without sending stuff like, oh, I had a ham sandwich today at lunch. And that's not necessary information, right? It's all stuff related to your academics, your soccer, and your aspirations to play in college.
Absolutely, that's really good to know. And Marc, you know, so Ross saying, okay, about 2 months, maybe that could be a window for a relationship to build between the player and coach. Typically, from start to finish, from first finding out about a player to the decision to bring them into the program, how long would you typically say that period of communication would be?
I think it will start right after this event. I think personally, there are some players I like, some players I saw yesterday, players I will see over the next 3 days. Those kids will receive an email from me saying that I really appreciated the efforts they put on the field, but I may also reinforce the fact that, again, we see them during the day. I like the way they act. So obviously, I will be paying attention to some kids where I like on the field, and I will see how they interact with their teammates. I will see how they interact with the other coaches. I will see how they interact with the organization, because I think it's very important to demonstrate personal and positive behavior over those 4 days. And from there, I will say I really appreciate what they did, and for me, they share some of the values we have, and then after that, we can be a little more aggressive regarding the recruiting process, and then I hope they can be persistent and still look at our school as a possibility for their education.
Final question on this topic. Directly after this World Cup, let's say a kid has had a good conversation with a coach. What do you think? What's the first thing they should be doing after the World Cup?
Follow up. Again, don't wait for coaches to come to you. Be proactive with your communication. So if you're speaking to a coach on the sideline, or you hear from a coach during the event, make sure that you take the next steps. Right, follow up is just as important as the initial contact. That's how you really solidify a relationship. So, through email is probably the best. Text if you can, if you've taken that step, but definitely follow up within the first couple of days.
For me, an email would be fine. I'm not too much of a social media guy.
You could never have guessed, Marc. I could never guess. Finally, obviously, you guys are all coaches. You have slightly bigger teams you coach in the regular season, college teams, but we've got some good level of competition. How's the mood between the coaches? Is there any wages going on? Is there some friendly competition happening?
Definitely some chatting. No wagers, at least not for me. I don't know about you, Marc, but there's definitely some conversations happening in the dorms as we walk past each other. It's all friendly though, and especially the recognition of, player X was awesome for you today. It's like, oh, you're lucky to have him. Hope he doesn't play well against us. That kind of thing,
Well, fantastic. Guys, I really appreciate you coming out here, sharing all your insight on the World Cup and also the communication. And I'm sure the boys are learning so much from you guys as well as coaches. And we're going to see Ross, 4 p.m, Southern Europe against North America. Big one. North America can make it through to the semi-finals. And then Marc is going to have rest of the world facing off against UK at 7 p.m. So both in Group B. That's a must-win game for rest of the world. The pressure's on, but we can see they get some moments of brilliance. And then in Group A, so shortly on a new live stream, we're going to have 2:30 Northern Europe against South America, and then at 5:30 Trinidad and Tobago against Asia. It's going to be another action-packed day here in the Tiro Sports World Cup. This is us signing off from down here for now. We'll see you back shortly.